Spoilers and offensive content to come.
It's Carlos and Dave Anime Rave. We are the best anime review show on the internet. We are going to be watching episodes 10, 11, and 12 of Izetta the Last Witch, thus completing what is currently the series.
You ready to watch some royalty and magicians die?
Oh god. Oh god. I don't want sadness here.
The real question is are they going to replicate the legend with betrayal and death, or are they going to be able to move beyond it? Myself, I'm hoping they move beyond it and are able to have a happy ending, but I don't know with this show. The writers have shown me that they can do some dark fucking things.
And that's okay. It's okay to be dark. What I hate is sad endings for the sake of sad endings or because they think they'll get better critical reception. Fuck critical reception. Give me some happy Yuris.
So let's jump right in and see. We last left Izetta chained to
something.
To something.
I don't even remember. It's been a while. It's been a few weeks.
To the wreckage of her gun or something.
And Fine was hopefully the survivor of a brutal
bombing on
the Elstad Royal Palace. So
yeah, so let's jump right in.
Oh, thank God!
Look, even if they were going to kill or maim Fine, it wouldn't have been in episode 10.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It would have been, late episode 11 to drive Izetta nuts.
Oh, don't kill women just to advance other people's characters. A fiction does that enough.
The one thing I am looking forward to when we come back and check out a bunch of these series in English is I know these intros will actually have translation so we can finally know what the hell they were saying.
I hope it's like utter nonsense. It's like, Izetta likes shooting fucking guns, loves to shoot the fucking guns.
Somehow I don't think so.
Okay, that's not fair. You can't use dragon slaves in World War II. That's just not fair.
No, that has bigger implications.
Yeah, I realize. I was trying to think of the most nuke-like spell in anime and dragon slave.
Well,
and the Kamehameha.
No, you've got there right with the nuke. If she can crystallize magic like that and turn into a bomb, You know what we're looking at.
Nukes.
They're going to make a new version of a nuke.
They're going to make a new version of a nuke. I know. I realize.
Oh, shit.
How many kilotons do you think Lena's dragon slave is? Because we know it has to be... We know it's not in the megaton range at all. We know that even our shittiest nuke is bigger than a dragon slave.
I'd actually argue against that.
No, because people have survived dragon slaves.
Yes, but don't believe we're having this conversation now. But when you think about it, Lena's dragon slave, while it hasn't taken out humans, has been very good at making craters of entire cities.
Sure, but ground missiles can do that.
Hang on, let me finish.
Okay.
Craters with no buildings left in the crater range.
Mm-hmm.
The first nukes against Nagasaki and Hiroshima didn't leave a crater, it just destroyed the buildings and torched the people. That means that Lena's dragon slave was more powerful than our first nukes.
This sounds like highly specious reasoning to me.
Really?
A little. Then again, it's also a really stupid conversation.
Agreed. And that just goes to show just how well planned Fine's plan actually worked out to be. Yeah. The common people actually gave a damn versus the old legend where the people really weren't involved in it.
Yeah. Yeah, Fine's very calculating and kind. And believable.
And Izetta was just so lovable. Oh, and what she was attached to was one of, do we actually have a name for the old White Witch?
Oh, what was her name? They mentioned her name last time. It's been a few weeks, and a bunch of shit happened, which is why we haven't been...
So it was one of her staves that she was using to fight with.
Yeah, for sure.
She was attached to.
God damn it. She has a name, too, and I just don't remember what it is. Taking Berkman's glory a little bit.
I don't so much think it's the Berkman's glory that he's pissed off about. I think we're about to see him turn traitor.
Why is that?
Well, he was just promoted
To Lieutenant Colonel.
and then stripped of everything that he's been working towards.
Oh, for sure. No, I totally hear what you're saying. But I hope it's more than just that makes him turn traitor, because, I mean... Then again, Inglourious Bastards, which is a great movie, the villain of that movie, Hans Landa, betrayed the Nazis when it was clear that they were losing, purely to save his own skin. It didn't save him from having a swastika carved into his forehead.
I love that scene.
But it's fascinating. It's a fascinating... could this be Handsome Not Hitler's final mistake, you know?
If it's an ancient fortress or stronghold for the royal family, of course Sophie's going to know it.
Yeah, but this is an anime. Ancient structures tend to have arcane power sources that they can then use to fly into the sky.
I don't think they're going to go that far.
Me neither.
That would be awesome, but I think it would require more than one wounded witch. Congratulations, you're all upgraded to witches.
You're all witches. Now lift this castle! I think Fionn's finally lost it.
If they've been in hiding for a month, their clothes are a little bit too clean, a little bit too intact. Like her fashion consultant / image person there is still wearing the same clothes she was wearing before. Yeah. And there's not even a little bit of dirt or wear or tear at all.
I chalk this up to the fact that the maid is just doing a great job.
And you know something? I will actually accept that answer to a certain point.
In reality, they should all be in much less clean clothing.
Clean clothing
should be much more tattered than it is.
Exactly.
Dave, alternate history, not Nazis, are using magic to create magic super nukes. This show better have a second season. Fuck, we need the Elrics to stop us. This is why they came from the other world in the Superior 2003 series.
Brotherhood was way better.
Brotherhood. Garbage.
But, yeah, no. I mean, this looks like a super-powered nuke. Powered by a new element.
It looks like something where if Mega Man touched it, he would explode.
Not enough spikes.
See, that's the thing. Not all the spikes were terribly sharp. Some of them had a downright rounded look.
I've got to say, I've loved how Bianca's character, well, hasn't really grown as a character, has been so awesome throughout the show.
First she was gay for Fine, and now she's gay for Izetta. Izetta's...
You know, she put on that strong... I'm not going to trust you with Fine's life kind of thing until I trust you, and now she's all...
like, no, I love you too. Izetta's gonna die so hard.
It's not looking good, Carlos. It really isn't.
Can we stop here?
No, we can't.
Can we just make up our own ending?
No.
And then BJ Blazkowicz came, and with his help, they didn't need to use the stone.
You know, this is the kind of... the new Wolfenstein game kind of reminds me of this Germanian Empire.
Well, I'm even talking about original fucking Wolfenstein. I'm pretty sure BJ Blazkowicz, you know, I would argue that Sophie is probably just a really hard boss for him.
Oh, we could really use him in this show.
We could use him in 2016, to be honest with you. Much like Inglourious Bastards, again, not sure he's going to get a swastika carved into his forehead. But hey, man, you know, when that Germanian emperor seemed like he was a little smarter than I gave him credit for.
Yeah.
It seemed like he was a little smart, like a little dumber than I gave him credit for, I should say. Because, why would he do this to someone who has clearly served him so well and loyally and basically turn him traitor?
Yeah.
Unless this is part of the plan and Berkman knows it. It just seems so stupid to make such a blunder when you're winning so handily.
And that might be where maybe this is coming from, is he knows he's winning. He doesn't need him and sees him as a potential competitor or...
Like, good wins because evil is dumb.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, remember those things that you wouldn't do as an evil overlord?
Yeah.
And one of them is that when I have a trusted lieutenant, I will listen to my trusted lieutenant.
Yeah, I know. After all, he's my trusted fucking lieutenant.
I will not kill or betray one of my trusted people because they are my fucking trusted people.
There's a reason I trust them. What am I, stupid?
Exactly.
I love that Sieg's morality has been a small but important part of the show. Sieg is not a main character at all. We do not need to see him every episode struggling with that. But the fact that he does and is still very much on Elstat's side is a very nice little... It's kind of like how a good musical composition has layers. That is a cool layer to the show that has often demonstrated the ability to layer multiple conflicts and personalities and motivations.
And we've seen a wide variety of those layers, like the fact that the royal family here, had women in very high positions of power / military. Mm. Like in the main military, we haven't seen all that many women, but that's because they're all in the special forces.
Yeah, the Royal Guard. And I'm okay. I'm okay with this message that only women are good enough to be in this Royal Guard. Because fuck dudes.
Oh, enough with that.
Not you, Dave. You're awesome. You could be on the Royal Guard.
But
fuck every other dude.
And you're right. Sieg has shown us throughout this entire show that he's willing to do whatever it takes for his country to survive. Coming up against another person who's been in that trusted position and is now willing to betray his country just to survive is the complete opposite of him.
And yet, is it really? And that's the fun part.
Well, and I like how they said that line, but for him, I think it is.
Oh, for sure. It's just that Sieg has to face the reality that he's not a good person.
No.
And that's fine.
And he's fine with that, but I mean, questioning his morals on that is, at least for Sieg, everything's for his country, not for him. Yeah, you can question it, and he might doubt it a little bit, but I think it all comes down to, what can I do for my princess and for my country?
Or for my queen, rather.
Queen, right.
Queen now.
Archduchess.
Archduchess, right.
I'm also going to say, I kind of like how the animation is going right now as far as how Fine looks. You can tell that she's tired,
slightly
stressed out beyond all measure.
Just slightly.
Just slightly. Her face is kind of drooped. It's a nice, subtle way to show the stresses of her position.
Just jump right into the final one. No talking. Let's go.
No. No. Not fair. Gotta talk about episode 11. So, think they slept together up there. Izetta and Fine.
Dave, you do not get to fill me with that kind of hope at this late hour. Okay? Also, yes.
I'm kind of hoping Izetta doesn't die.
Fuck you, Dave. You know what? You think you're just friends and you're dead when you're walking, and you can just shove them, okay?
I
don't get to do this right now.
I haven't said just friends at all so far.
Today, maybe, but
for these 3 episodes so far, or 2 episodes, I have not said anything about that.
I know, but you have before. You can't divorce yourself from this. Just like Berkman, you are still complicit.
I'll just like to point out that you brought up the just friends, not me.
I would, man. I'm running out of ways to murder you. Yeah, I want them to live. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that, especially considering the soundtrack to this has that final image of them together in the that we see in the credits, and various songs are like "Song of Love" and all that.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure this is yet another example where, obviously, Fine and Izetta are an item, but for a wide variety of cultural and political reasons, they can't show that to us because fuck this planet. So, yeah, I think I think something happened up there. Yes, I think that I want Izetta to live. No, I don't think she's going to.
Okay, you don't think Izetta's gonna live. How about Fine?
If one... You know what? I will accept as a consolation prize both of them going down in a lesbian blaze of glory.
Well, let's see what happens here.
You get a feeling it's a really bad idea to be a soldier in this particular conflict. It's like... At the end of Crash Bandicoot Warped, Crash fights Cortex, but while Crash is fighting Cortex, Uka Uka and Aku Aku are also fighting each other, and you have to avoid their fight because they're shooting lasers and doing godly stuff to each other as you're trying
I remember
to kill
this.
Cortex. And the thing is, it doesn't matter which of their powers touches you. You get touched, you're fried, because these are gods fighting. I do not want to be a soldier anywhere near this fight on either side, because I'm gonna die.
Well, I don't think you want to be in a tank or an airplane or anything that either one of them could turn to a projectile to throw at the other. If you're just a ground soldier, you're probably okay.
I don't want to be there. If there was a moon base and I was watching out a window, I'd be like, can we move this satellite a little higher, please? I don't want to be here.
Pretty much.
Kilimanjaro.
Well, we did see a few episodes ago where they were saying that Izetta had to be taken out. So this is more of the history just repeating itself.
No, let Fine take over the world. Honestly, we could do way worse.
She's not just talking that, these two are going to die. I think Izetta's going to wipe out magic.
Yeah, she could, with stone, absorb it all and then just tuck it into space or something.
Fuck. That's a solution.
It is definitely a solution. Alright.
There you go.
That was Izetta the Last Witch. The finale, the whole series.
Well, we didn't think that Izetta was going to live, but she did. And it makes sense for her to live, kind of in seclusion, away from the capital. I remember you worried about the writers not being able to keep up the quality of this show right from the get-go. And they pulled it off. Izetta is a very well-written story for all of its characters. And while maybe we could have gotten a second season out of this, maybe it was better not to drag it out. Her solution was probably the best possible solution. Get rid of magic. It was too much of a Hail Mary, and affected the world in way too many ways. Like, as much as I think that the Atlantans.
The Atlantans.
Already being prepared to take Izetta out and being worried about, magic changing the course of warfare. They kind of had it right, even though they were doing it from a dark standpoint. Some technologies shouldn't exist. As far as our characters, though, Izetta and Fine were fantastic. And I do agree with you that it is sad that even in 2016 we can't have them go as far as we want them to, as far as relationships and everything else. But the growth we saw from both characters together, I thought was great. Izetta became much more of I guess I would say she became less of a hesitant person. She became she gained a strength as she went along, even though she knew that she was breaking everything that she was told not to do, but she knew it was the right thing to do. And we saw that even though it was the right thing to do, it caused many more problems for everybody. So, yeah, this show was spectacular and overshadows so many shows that we've watched in the previous years. The fact that this came out during winter, when they're willing to take risks, it just...
fall, really.
Well, yeah, no, sorry, fall. It just goes to show that when they want to write something new and put a lot of work into it, they can really succeed. Because the world building in this show was great. Over to you.
Okay. A good points all around. I definitely think that the Izetta the Last Witch is a show that did a lot right and a few things wrong. And I think the few things it did wrong were a little more to its detriment than I otherwise would have attributed to those flaws. The world building in the show is absolutely masterclass. Like, setting up this alternate history World War II era, it was just perfect. Everything from... They set up everything to kind of be a parallel to how it happened here. Things were realistic for the time, and yet, even ignoring magic for a second, where they deviated in ways that were fascinating and yet period accurate, I want to say.
Fair enough.
So the world building is absolutely masterful. I think this show took a big risk in having so many layers to its plot that it then deemed fit to actually resolve. I harp on Ava a lot because Ava has so many plot lines it does not see fit to resolve. And okay, fine, its fans like it for it. I don't. In this show, we got so many threads like the whole Bianca arc, and we got the whole Sieg Mueller arc, which was a secondary or tertiary thread that impacted the main story and yet happened and resolved in its own very satisfying way.
Sorry to interrupt just for a second.
No, go ahead.
Or you want to talk tertiary plot lines. How about the maid's storyline?
Yeah.
Resulting in them visiting her home and then it turning out that the old guy that they had been having as a customer for decades was a traitor.
Yeah, he was a Germanian plant.
Such a small plot line, but major payoff.
Stuff like Rickert, the Germanian soldier who gave their life to find information to help Germania combat Izetta, and the fact that Berkman fought so loyally and basically handed them victory on a silver platter, then was betrayed and then betrayed himself. Yet Berkman got to live because in a weird way, that's kind of justice. And even things like Sieg Mueller telling Berkman they're nothing alike, but Mueller is the one who paid the ultimate price in the end for doing something terribly wrong for the right reasons. It was karmic, and yet it was also very sad in a very good way. I don't like fiction to be sad for no good reason. In this show, for the most part, things that were depressing or things that were very cathartic were so for good reason. And certainly Izetta the Last Witch is really, really good. It has its problems. And this wasn't the case in the last couple episodes, actually. It's almost like they learned. But for a while, this show delved in far too much unnecessary, pointless fan service that was simply there for the male gaze and to kind of appeal to a target audience. And I hate that because, and you're going to hate me for saying this, and I'm going to say it anyway, the 18 plus male demographic is the worst demographic, and anything to appeal purely to them makes things garbage. And that includes unnecessary fan service. For comparison, Keijo's is not unnecessary and not even really fan service at this point. Here it was, and it was just kind of gross. Fine and Izetta are very clearly in love and an item, and unfortunately, much like Yuri on Ice, there are so many limits to what they can do, even though it's 2016, and people should realize that non-heteronormative relationships are just as normal and acceptable and common as heteronormative ones, and this shouldn't even be a problem. Fucking recently there was an Overwatch comic that showed that Tracer had a girlfriend. And they just showed her the exchanging gifts and kissing, and they showed it as normal. And a lot of very phobic Blizzard fans lost their shit at something that is not worth losing your shit over, because it should be normal. It should not be alienated. It should not be misrepresented or unrepresented or made invisible. And unfortunately, even though I'm certain that the show wanted to do more here, just like I'm certain how Yuri on Ice wanted to do more, the fact is they didn't. For whatever reasons, political, cultural, for whatever reasons, they didn't and they couldn't. And I said at the beginning, if they are not an item, I'm taking away from the show. And I'm taking away from it for that. Because I'm sick of this. I'm sick of queer baiting. And I am sick of ambiguity for the sake of ambiguity, and it being used as an excuse to not present queer relationships where they are very clearly happening. So that's a strike against it. The unnecessary fan service is a strike against it. And even though these are 3 strikes, that doesn't mean it's out or nothing. I was kind of a little disappointed by that ending, I gotta tell you. I'm a little let down. I didn't think the fight between Izetta and Sophie was as epic as I wanted it to be. Like, I wanted the final fight of the series to be something over in New Berlin involving magic and maybe a giant mecha piloted by Otto. Now, we didn't get the giant mecha piloted by Otto. We did get another witch, sure, fine. But it wasn't quite as Dragon Ball or Matrix Revolution as I was looking for. And that's a little disappointing, but I get it. There are budgets, and ultimately it's more important to focus on areas of the show, the show's strengths. But even then, the ending was a little tame. This alternate history is rife for exploration to see how magic affects modern warfare, and instead they just kind of deleted magic from the world, kind of wrapped things up nice and quickly, and even though I wanted this to have a happy ending, the happy ending we did get was just a little unsatisfying. It was a little disappointing, I thought. I wanted more out of this. I wanted to see where it could go from here, and I certainly wanted, if it was going to end here, to end with a little more of a bang instead of the whimper we got. I didn't like that, I gotta tell you.
I didn't mind the ending at all.
Oh, I realized.
I think it fits what they were going for. The battle, I mean, come on, we had them using freaking giant long trains as freaking train whips.
No one's complaining about the train whips. No one's complaining about the train whips.
But if you think of all the magic battles and how they were using magic, I mean, we weren't getting Matrix-style combat even from the beginning. We had some dogfighting happening. We had some homing missile kind of action going on, some torpedo runs. Like, we had stuff like that, but the battles were never Matrixy.
Okay, fine, but up until now, they've always been extremely well animated and awesome to watch. Arguably, the big dogfights in the first few episodes looked better than the fight between these 2 witches.
Yeah, but that
was kind of tame.
That's because it was, a witch versus current technology.
Sure.
But, come on. She was taking the anti-aircraft tanks and everything else and chucking them at her.
There were elements of the fight that were cool, but with the way the ending happened, and I'm already a little disappointed by it, the fight's the thing I'm looking forward to. I want the whole thing to be cool. Look, Revenge of the Sith sucks. But the fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker was awesome. Highly impractical. Woefully unrealistic, even within the context of Star Wars. But hot damn was it cool.
I get it, but for them to have the kind of epic fight you're talking about, they would have had to have had a little bit more... Let's sidestep for a second and let's talk about the magic in this series.
Sure.
Because I think you're not looking at the magic quite in the same way I am. We're not talking, until the end at least, they weren't throwing fireballs. They weren't throwing explosions. It was very much...
It was more telekinesis.
Not even that. It was very much an enchantment style of magic. So ultimately, what we got in the final battle, I mean, everything was an enchantment type. They touched something, they could wield it in different telekinetic ways. Some of it was even almost like enchanting and giving it a consciousness of itself that would send off and do something. But we never had...
Firaga?
We never had Firaga. We never had thunder. We never had...
Bufudine!
Exactly. That wasn't what this show was going for. It was very much a sympathetic magic. So to have the sort... I mean, come on. Izetta threw the top half of the Eiffel Tower up, turned it into all of its steel girders, and then attacked Sophie with it. I mean...
See, I read that as Sophie deflected it, turned it into girders, and then sent them back at Izetta.
Well, and that could even be. But I mean, ultimately, we got enhancement or a higher stakes version of the magic they showed. So, I mean, ultimately, I don't know what else you're looking for other than for them to start throwing flying fortresses at each other as far as that last battle goes.
Okay, fair. You know what? Fair comment. You're absolutely right. I don't think my issue is with the fight. I think my issue is more that, in a lot of ways, even though she's thematically correct as the final villain, Sophie didn't quite have the villainousness of Otto, who I really wanted to somehow be the final enemy that Izetta had to fight. It's just, Otto was such a prick. Or even Berkman, who ended up betraying them, or ended up betraying the Germanians. These were, one or the other was our setup for who was going to be the final villain of the show. And then Sophie just kind of comes in the middle of the show and steals it. And I get it. She's thematically correct to be that, but in a way she's kind of weak. Because her entire motivation is she hates Elstad. For good reason. For very good reason. But it pales in comparison to Otto and Berkman, who have been set up as much more compelling and likable villains.
But see, now there's the problem, though. Izetta and Fine, the only real threat that they came face-to-face with was Sophie. If Sophie had, at the beginning of the show, if Izetta had come face-to-face with Otto and had some sort of direct confrontation link where he did something, maybe Otto would have been more of a personal threat to them. But really, when you think about it, Otto and the Germanian Empire were a overall threat to the world.
Oh, sure,
it was never... For Otto to the rest of the characters, other than Berkman, it was never personal.
I kind of get what you're saying. It's kind of like how the villain in The Empire Strikes Back and in Return of the Jedi, a lot of Star Wars references I'm making,
it works.
It's Darth Vader. It's not Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah.
It's Darth Vader. He's the antagonist.
Exactly.
And even in A New Hope, but I would argue Grand Moff Tarkin is more the antagonist of that one, but whatever. And here's the thing. This is one of those cases where I disagree with you, but you're not wrong at all, and really I'm the one who's in the wrong. Because you're not wrong. And you're right. The show ended about as well as it could have for a one-season thing, I guess. This is a case where I really liked what I was seeing, and I'm just a little disappointed that I'm not getting more of it.
Yeah, I get that. I would have liked, Fine to be standing on the steps of his frickin' little parliament there and, stab him herself. But not only would that have been out of character, but again, it wasn't personal. The Sophie was the link to the past, to her kingdom, to the witches. I mean, she's what brought everything together. She is our Darth Vader.
Yeah, you're right. And in a way, for a show that has so many threads, this is yet another thread. And the thread certainly was introduced and concluded well. It was hinted at since the beginning.
Yeah.
So I really don't have too much of a complaint other than, oh man, I I really wanted just Otto in a giant magic-powered mecha or something.
And, you know, that's why I like the fact that the Germanian Empire was further along technology-wise, because in our own history, Hitler would have been much further along if he hadn't had people within his own government working against him.
For sure.
Obviously, Otto didn't have that, so...
I argue he kind of did, because Otto was a different... Otto wasn't like Hitler. He's kind of the anti-Hitler, but he was still a prick in his own ways. Like, he effectively punished Berkman for handing Otto victory on a platter. And he punished him for it. That is beyond absurd.
That's almost Stalinish.
Yeah, that is so idiotic for who was supposed to be a great leader, and who the show kind of presented as the what if Hitler actually was competent.
Yeah.
And that's the problem here is, like, he could have not done that, and we could have gotten a much more explosive finale with a much more formidable Germanian side instead of a Germanian side that kind of just crumbled. And it's kind of sad. And again, here's another Star Wars comparison. Why the fuck did Palpatine take an unfinished, untested space station out into combat? That was a boneheaded move.
Well, no.
Had he not done that, and had he not sent Thrawn away on some stupid TIE Defender witch hunt, he probably could have won. And ultimately, yeah, good wins because evil is dumb, but goddamn, Otto, you fucked up.
But yeah, no, that's my take on all that here. It's just, it would have been, it's why I'm kind of glad they did the whole Germanian fall as quick as they did. Because, yeah, they were the overall threat, but it would have been weird if, Elstat soldiers had been there as part of the attack. It just wouldn't have made really any sense.
I didn't want that, though.
Oh, I get that part, but
I think ultimately I'm really, really picking at nits here.
And
my bigger problem is that we couldn't have the romantic relationship confirmed visually between Fine and Izetta. That's ultimately my biggest problem. The fan service, the slightly disappointing ending, that would have...
You're nitpicking.
I wouldn't even really have too big a problem with either of those if I had just gotten the first one.
No, but that's fair enough.
I think your points are valid, but I think mine are valid too. I'm a big proponent for ending things with a fucking bang. A huge proponent of this. I don't like stories that just peter out. Well, I really don't.
Technically, you did get your big bang.
Okay, I'm talking... Look, Dave, if you're going to keep doing this, I'm going to have to ask you to leave your own house.
Sorry, I keep on shooting down what you're saying.
No. I clearly meant a metaphorical bang. I mean something where we just look at each other and we start laughing at the absurdity. I'm talking Yuna punching the sun. I'm talking future Trunks chopping Zamasu's idiot fucking self in half. That's what I mean. Right?
I get it. I just don't think that was possible even within the guidelines of the show.
And in fairness, not everything's going to be what I want.
Yeah. And
still, this is a really, really, really good anime that I wish was perfect. And that's really ultimately it, right? Yeah. Ultimately, I am satisfied with Izetta. If they never touch it again, I'm fine with it. If they somehow manage to get a sequel out of it, I think I'd be okay with that too. Which there's still a possibility for, but honestly, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, ultimately, I will be... This is an anime that when Funimation releases it on Blu-ray, I am going to have no issue buying it right when it comes out.
This anime has given me a lot of really good characters and has elicited a lot of emotions and has just been a masterclass of world building. And honestly, for a guy like me who complains that most anime is garbage, who am I to judge this too harshly?
Fair enough.
We are the best anime review show on the internet. Carlos and Dave Anime Rave. We are at animerave.xyz. I have completely lost all thought.
Tune in next time And please do watch the other 3 of our 4 that we've been reviewing this fall. Keijo.
You're nice. Oh, sorry. And Flip Flappers. Sorry, I didn't realize that you were going to just say one title and then nothing else.
I blanked on the last one. That's why.
Good times.
Tune in next time.